Hey everyone, welcome back. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great content like what you're about to hear. All right, so today we're going back in time to 1930s Hollywood, right in the middle of the Great Depression, to explore the really incredible story of Shirley Temple. Yeah, it's a story that really captures that time, a time of, such hardship and uncertainty. People are really yearning for something hopeful, a reason to smile. And that's exactly where our protagonist enters the scene. All of 5 years old when she signed with Fox Studios. They were a once mighty studio, but now they were teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Share prices had plummeted. They were drowning in debt. They desperately needed a miracle. And that miracle arrived in the form of this little blonde, curly-haired girl. And it's interesting how her journey actually began. At 2.5 years old, her mother enrolled her in dance classes, just as a way to, channel her boundless energy. It's amazing how these little decisions can have huge consequences, isn't it? Absolutely. And during one of those dance classes, she was spotted by a director, Charles Lamont, and he cast her in a series of short films. They were called Baby Burlesks. And this is where things take a bit of a turn. These baby burlesques were essentially parodies of adult films, often with, racist and sexist undertones. And keep in mind, she was only 3 years old at the time. It's shocking when we think about it today, how different things were back then and how vulnerable child actors were. There were very few protections for children in the industry. For those productions, she was paid $10 a day. Just for filming rehearsals were unpaid. Then on top of that, parents weren't allowed on set. So her mother, she styled her hair in those iconic ringlets, even made some of her costumes, but had no control over the environment that her daughter was working in. Yeah, they even had this black box punishment on set, a black box. Yeah, literally a soundproof box with a block of ice inside. And if any of the kids misbehaved, they were sent to this box to cool off. That's just awful. Yeah, I can't imagine being subjected to that at such a young age. It's a really sad example of the exploitation that was so common back then in Hollywood. And Shirley's story wasn't unique, unfortunately. But her father, he recognized how bad the contract was and bought it back. And soon after, everything changed because of one chance encounter. Yeah, she was dancing in a hotel lobby, and a Fox Studios songwriter saw her, and he was so impressed that he invited her to audition for a film called Stand Up and Cheer. It was a musical comedy designed to uplift audiences during the Depression. And this seemingly small role was her big break. And she signed a contract with Fox Studios in December of 1933. And this was a pivotal moment not only for her, but for the studio as well. Right, because remember at this point, Fox was about to collapse. This decision to invest in Shirley Temple was a huge gamble, a last-ditch effort to save themselves. They were betting everything on this little girl. So what happened next? Did it pay off? Oh, in a way they never could have imagined. So this tiny girl who had such a rough start in those baby burlesque films, ended up being their saving grace. It's really something. So how did she become the studio's savior? Well, her popularity just exploded practically overnight. She was a household name, and she appeared in 10 films in her first year at Fox. 10 films in 1 year. That's an insane amount of work, even for an adult actor. And she was what, like 6 years old at that point? Exactly. Her work ethic was incredible even at such a young age. Her films were huge box office successes. Audiences just loved her. She brought so much joy and laughter to people, who were struggling to cope with the Depression. Even President Roosevelt talked about her impact. He said that she allowed Americans to forget their troubles for a little while. Wow, that's really something. She wasn't just entertaining, she was providing hope and escape from the really difficult realities of life at that time. And that popularity translated directly into financial success for Fox. Her salary just skyrocketed. She became the highest paid star in Hollywood by the age of 10. That's incredible. From $10 a day in those exploitative films to the highest paid star. It says a lot about her talent and charisma. It does, and it also highlights the smart decisions made by Fox. They recognized her potential, and they really capitalized on it. And it saved them from bankruptcy. It's like a classic Hollywood story, but with a twist. Yeah, instead of the studio having all the power, it was this little girl who kind of flipped the script. Now, we've talked about her impact on Hollywood, but you mentioned earlier that her experience and that of other child actors, like Jackie Cougan, led to the Cougan Law in California. Can you tell us a bit more about that? What was the Cougan Law and how did it come about? Well, Jackie Cougan was another child star. He was famous for his role in The Kid with Charlie Chaplin in the 1920s. And he earned millions of dollars, but his parents wasted most of it. And this sparked a legal battle and brought the issue of child exploitation to light. Oh, wow. It's so sad. A child working so hard only to have it all taken away. So the Cougan Law was created to prevent that from happening again. Exactly. It mandated fair working conditions for child actors, making sure they receive proper education and rest breaks. And most importantly, it required that a portion of their earnings be set aside in a trust fund protected from mismanagement and available to them when they became adults. That's great. So even though Shirley faced challenges early on, she indirectly helped create lasting protections for child actors. That's quite a legacy. Her story is a reminder that we need to protect children in the entertainment industry. It's a conversation that's still relevant today. Absolutely. So we've talked about her early career and her impact on Hollywood. But what happened to Shirley Temple after her time in Hollywood? Did she continue acting? Well, she actually transitioned away from acting and pursued a completely different path, one that might surprise you. Really, I'm curious, tell me more. She went into politics and diplomacy. Wow, from child star to diplomat. Quite a change. What led her to politics and international affairs? It wasn't like a sudden change, it was more gradual as her film career started to slow down. In the late 30s and into the 40s, she started exploring other things, got married, had kids, and slowly stepped back from the spotlight. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, a lot of child stars struggle with transitioning to adult roles, but it sounds like she did it really well. Absolutely. And it was during those years that she really got involved in, civic and political stuff. Her interest in public service grew, and she started looking for new ways to make a difference. So how did she go from, attending events to actually being a diplomat? That's a pretty big step. It started small, like with local Republican groups and fundraising. But she was so smart and charismatic and really genuine. People noticed. That sounds like the same things that made her a star. Yeah, exactly. And by the late 60s, she was appointed as a delegate to the United Nations, representing the U.S. Wow, so from Hollywood to the UN. What an incredible journey. What was some of her accomplishments during that time? At the UN, she focused a lot on environmental issues, especially clean water initiatives. She traveled all over the place raising awareness and, promoting international cooperation. So she used her fame for something really important, not just, enjoying the perks of celebrity, but trying to make a real difference. And her diplomatic work didn't stop there. In the 70s, President Ford appointed her as the U.S. ambassador to Ghana. And then later, President George H.W. Bush appointed her ambassador to Czechoslovakia. Ambassador, those are some serious roles, requiring a deep understanding of international relations. Did she have any experience in those areas? Not specifically, no, but she approached everything with such dedication, and she really did her homework. She studied hard, learned about the cultures, and built strong relationships with the leaders and the people there. She was always willing to learn and adapt. She could have just relaxed and enjoyed her Hollywood success, but she pushed herself to do more, and she was successful at it. In Ghana, she worked on economic partnerships and cultural exchange programs. And in Czechoslovakia, she was there during a time of political upheaval, and she really advocated for democracy and human rights. Her story is really remarkable. It makes you rethink what you know about child stars. She wasn't just talented, but also incredibly dedicated. A true public servant, a diplomat, someone who fought for important causes. It's a reminder that we're never too old to learn and grow and make a difference. Well, this has been fascinating. Shirley Temple's life was full of unexpected twists and turns. From the tough times in early Hollywood to the world of international diplomacy. What a story. And it reminds us how important it is to be resilient, to follow our passions, and to leave our mark on the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. It's been amazing to explore this with you. The pleasure was mine. And to our listeners, if you're interested in learning more, there's so much information out there about Shirley Temple's life. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more amazing stories like this one. We'll see you next time.